Hey there, my name is Travis Albritton, Head of Content at Buzzsprout, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can get your podcast listed in Spotify. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get a podcast listed in Spotify. Now, there's two ways to do this. If you host with Buzzsprout, we have a simpler way of getting your podcast in Spotify, but then Spotify has its own process. So if you are hosting your own podcast with Amazon Web Services or something like that, or you're using a host that doesn't have an API connection to Spotify, you can use this method that I'm about to show you. But before you get started, you have to have certain things set up in your podcast in order for Spotify to bring it into their directory. The first thing you need is an episode that has been published. So here you can see I created this little trailer for this imaginary podcast, and it's been published. So I'm recording this on Wednesday, September 11th. This podcast episode was live as of September 9th. And that's important. Spotify will not accept your podcast if there isn't an episode published and available in your podcast feed. You'll also need several things associated with your podcast. For instance, you have to have your podcast title properly labeled and in the right field. If you're using a host like Buzzsprout, you would do this in your podcast settings. And regardless of what kind of host you use, wherever your podcast settings are, you need these fields filled out. You need a podcast description. You need artwork, so some kind of artwork file that Spotify can pull in. 3,000 by 3,000 pixels is the standard for podcasting, simply because that's what Apple asks for. And so all the other directories have kind of got on that train and said, yeah, we'll also do 3,000 by 3,000. And then these Apple Podcast categories aren't necessarily required for Spotify, but they are helpful. Spotify does organize podcasts based on the category that you put in. So you'll need to have a category selected, and then you'll need an artist. So I've created a make-believe artist, Buzzsprout 2, and that's going to be the host, your name, if you were hosting your podcast. And then things like your website address, your contact email, those are all super important. So you need all those fields filled out and an episode published before you can get your show listed in Spotify, okay? But once you have all of those things ready to go, you get your first episode out there and all your podcast settings set up, let's go ahead and get listed in Spotify. So you're going to go to this website, podcasters.spotify.com, and here you're going to get started. So you click on the Get Started button. If you do not have a Spotify account yet, you can set one up. They're free to set up. Or you can use this login with Facebook button, whichever one is more convenient for you to get started. So once you log into Spotify, either with your Facebook account or by creating a Spotify account, you're going to see this screen. If it doesn't show up, then you want to go over here to the toolbar and click on Add Your Podcast. But here you're going to see that Spotify is going to need your RSS feed, so make sure that you have that readily available. And then once you have your podcast submitted into Spotify and it's starting to get play data, there's actually a way for you to monitor that Spotify data and all your stats and things like that as well. But we're going to click Get Started so we can get started. So here, Spotify is asking for the RSS feed for your podcast. And so if I go back to Buzzsprout and go over to Directories and click on RSS feed, that's where I can find the RSS feed for Pod Talk, for this podcast that I've created. So wherever your RSS feed is in your podcast host, this is what it needs to look like. It should be something like this, a web address with .rss at the end. So I'm just going to copy that, go back to Spotify, and I'm going to paste it into here. So Spotify was able to pull all of the data that we put in there, right? So they have the artwork, the title of the podcast, the artist for the podcast, and then the description and the category. So all the things that we needed, Spotify was able to retrieve. So now, if this all looks good, we're going to click Next. So now, Spotify is going to verify that you own this podcast. So this is the email that is associated with your podcast. So remember, in the podcast settings, there's a contact email in your settings. That's the email that Spotify pulled through your RSS feed. And so you'll need to send a code to your email address to verify that you actually own this email address and you're not just trying to claim somebody else's podcast. So we'll click Send Code, and then once I get that email with the code, I'll verify my email address and we'll keep moving forward. So Spotify sent me the verification code basically immediately, I was able to copy and paste it into this field and then said, yeah, you're verified. Let's continue. So we're going to keep going here. So Spotify here wants to know a little bit more about your podcast. So you're just going to fill out each of these fields, whatever they ask for. So I'm in the United States. The primary language is English. Hosting provider is Buzzsprout. And then primary category is educational. All right. So these are the categories that Spotify is going to use. And so in addition to that, you can also select 3 subcategories. So we're going to do how to and more educational. Those are the 2 that really make more sense. So once you have those filled out, you're going to click next. And then Spotify is going to ask you if everything looks okay. All those fields you just filled out, is that what you want? If you want to fix something, you can click go back and adjust one of these fields, but everything looks good to me. So I'm going to hit submit. And now Spotify has Pod Talk listed. Now, they do say that it'll take a few hours for the podcast to show up on Spotify, but the confetti is falling. We can celebrate. Pod Talk has been successfully submitted into Spotify. So regardless of the podcast host that you're using for your podcast, this process will work for you. Now, if you host with Buzzsprout, all you have to do is go to Directories, and then in Spotify, click Get Listed. Here, we're going to prompt you to make sure that you have all of those things identified that we talked about at the beginning of this video, right? At least one live episode, the title, description, artwork, etc. And then you just click this button to submit your podcast to Spotify, and then that's all you got to do. You don't have to go through that whole process we went through. Just make sure all those things are filled out, ready to go, and then click Submit to Spotify, and we will take care of the rest for you. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more videos like this, just click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You could also keep this party going by watching one of these videos over here. You can just stay here, enjoying all these videos, learning how to be a podcaster. It's a wonderful thing.